That our dean would come forth at this time, Reverend Frank Milton, who is the dean of the Gaston County Missionary Baptist Association Training Institute, and also the interim pastor of First Baptist Church in Dallas, to give the invocation.
To God be the glory. Will you pray with me, please? Father God, in the precious name of Jesus, Lord, we come to you right now in the setting of this political forum, Lord, and we ask that your Holy Spirit would dwell in this place, Lord, as we go through this evening. God, we ask that you would bless these candidates as they come forward to present their positions in this upcoming election. And God, we ask that the information that they give might be something that is useful to us, that we might make wise and reasonable decisions when it comes November 6th. And God, we do all things for your glory and for your honor. So, Lord, we just ask that you would be with us at this hour, Lord, and help us as we go through this evening. This is our prayer in the precious name of Jesus. Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much. For those of you that may not know, I'm Reverend Dr. Pierre Crawford. I am the moderator of the Gaston County Missionary Baptist Association. We have 29 churches in this association. I'm also the senior pastor of Center Baptist Church located on New Hope Road. And we'd like to welcome you to the Gaston County Missionary Baptist Association Political Forum / Fall Training Institute. This evening, this event that we are having is an opportunity for our community to come together for the purpose of meeting our candidates and for educating ourselves on the process of political science. At the end of the day, we live here in Gaston County. We need to learn how to work the system, how the system works, and how to benefit from the system. Someone is going to be elected to these various positions. Let us have government for the people, by the people, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. So my purpose tonight is to ensure that as many candidates that can make it, we understand that the Gaston Gazette is having a forum tonight over at Gaston Day School, and some are on their way there, and some will be coming here when they leave there. And some people say, well, if you knew that was going on, why did you still have this tonight? The purpose of having it tonight is because they're in town. And so I have an opportunity to invite a large number that are all over the place. Now, let me just give you a little bit of what will be happening tonight. We will have presenters tonight, and we will have candidates tonight. As we're waiting on some of the candidates, some of the presenters will come forth in between. But we want to start out tonight by hearing just about 3 to 5 minutes from our first candidate, which will be Jamar McCoy, who will be running for North Carolina House of Representatives 110. So he's going to come in his own way. And right after him, we're going to have, without me coming back up, Patsy Keever. She's running for U.S. House of Representatives, 10th District. So those will be the first two that will come forth, and I will come back with further instructions. Once again, thank you for coming, and we look forward to a wonderful time. Each one will have 3 to 5 minutes. Come on, put your hands together.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Come on, everybody. Good evening. I'm happy to be out tonight. Awesome, awesome. I was with my grandmother the other day, and I love my grandma. We gotta love grandmas. And she said, "Baby, your hair is turning gray." So she said, "You stressed out? This campaign got you stressed? Your hair turning gray?" I said, "Well, Grandma, it's good that my hair is turning gray and it's not turning loose." So, I'm happy that I still got a little hair on my head. But very briefly, I hail from Gastonia, North Carolina, born and raised. Went to Gastonia Central. From there, I went to Greer Junior High. Graduated from Hunter Huss in 2000. From there, I left, played football and ran track at Mars Hill College in Mars Hill, North Carolina. I transferred from Mars Hill and I got my degree in political science from North Carolina Central University in Durham. From there, I decided that I wanted to live a life and dedicate it back to children at risk, because I grew up in a single-parent household, and I was kind of one of those ones that was an at-risk kid that a lot of people gave up hope on. I had a great mentor, Sean Davis, who helped me guide me in the right direction, told me that I needed to stay in church and that I needed to do something positive for the area. So I started working in Florida and I moved back here. I took this word, I said I need to come back home. So I came back home and married my college sweetheart, Tiffany, who's absent tonight. She normally travels with me, but she's absent tonight. We have 2 kids, a daughter who's 3 and a son who's 3 months. And it's such an awesome experience to have children. And Carmen said tonight, Dad, you going to a very important meeting? I said, yes, baby, go to a very important meeting. But just a little bit about what I stand for. The reason I'm running for the North Carolina House of Representatives is because I like the dreams of our future more than I like the history of our past. Currently, 450,000 North Carolinians can be disenfranchised from voting if the voter ID bill passes. We look at this as voter suppression. It's not a way to ensure that government is more transparent and that you're eliminating fraud. There's been very little to none of voter fraud going on in North Carolina, let alone the nation. My opponent encourages voter ID. He says that it puts faith back into the government. I'll tell you what will put faith back into the government. The candidates that run and do what they say they're going to do once they make it to Raleigh or to Washington. We have to start holding our elected officials accountable for the things that they campaign on and say. My opponent also said that he was running to cut waste. Since he's been in the North Carolina House of Representatives, the only thing that he's cut is public education. We don't call public education waste. We call it the future of our kids. Now, with a great education grows great jobs. If you don't have a great foundation in education, you won't have a good chance at getting a good, steady job. Our education cannot be the brick that the builder forgot. It needs to be the foundation that they start on, that the builder starts on. And this is the way that our youth must start their foundation. We need to keep this relevant technology in the classroom. Smart boards, they need tablets, they need laptops. These are the things that we have to prepare our kids for the 21st century. No longer can we prepare our kids for the 20th century because it's a bygone era. We need to have relevant technology in the classrooms to prepare our kids, our students, our children for the 21st century. As I continue to run this race, there are a lot of negative things that are being said. There are a lot of negative things that are going on. But I just continue to ask your support as I run this race. It's time out for playing politics. It's time out for saying that I represent the Republicans, I represent the Democrats. I'm a member of the Tea Party. It's time for us to represent all people. Black, white, blue, green, independent, libertarian. It's time for elected officials to represent people across the board. It's time, the people in the 110th, the people in Gaston and Cleveland counties, because my district spans 2 counties, they want a real voice. They want someone who's going to go up there and tell the truth and bring the truth home. They want a real advocate, somebody that's going to really represent them in Raleigh, and they want the real McCoy. I need your support in November and this Thursday if you're going to vote early. Vote Jamal McCoy, the real McCoy, for the 110th district. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you don't know how lucky you are to have Jamar McCoy running. And before he leaves, Jamar, wait a minute. Just let's give him one more hand. He is a heck of a campaigner. He's going to be a fabulous, fabulous member of the legislature. I've had the pleasure of campaigning with Jamar. I'm also representing Cleveland County. I am Patsy Keever. I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives in the 10th Congressional District. And for those of you who may not know exactly what the 10th District is now, it's Buncombe County, part of Buncombe County where I'm from. It's all of Rutherford, all of Polk, all of Cleveland, most of Catawba except for Hickory, and all of Lincoln and all of Gaston. And so I've had, like I said, I've had the pleasure to campaign around with Jamar, and he is fabulous. I'm really excited that he's running, and I know that every single one of you will vote for him and get your friends out to vote for him too. And I thank you all for being here. I do have a few prepared remarks because I tend to run off like I'm doing right now. So let me just start over. I'm Patsy Keever. I'm the Democratic nominee for the U.S. House of Representatives in North Carolina's 10th Congressional District. And I'm a mom and a grandmother. You heard Jamar say that we love grandmothers. I am a grandmother and the widow of a Vietnam veteran. I'm a North Carolina state legislator, a former county commissioner, and I was a teacher for 25 years. And there again, Jamar and I have something in common. He's a fabulous teacher. I've lived in North Carolina all my life, and it's been my pleasure to work with the people in my community in Buncombe County for over 40 years. I hold many positions that differentiate me from my opponent, Patrick McHenry. I believe that we should protect Medicare, not voucherize it. We should invest in education, not slash it. We should reward companies who create jobs here in the United States rather than reward the ones that move their jobs overseas. And I think that the economy is stronger for everyone if the middle class is prioritized. And these issues are not just policy issues, they are moral issues. Americans, whether they are rich or poor, we all want our neighbors to be secure. We care about everyone. Our government and the people we choose to go to Washington and to Raleigh should represent our values. My opponent has proven to us over and over again through his votes in Congress that he cares more about his party, his own political ambitions, and the special interest more than he does about the people here in this district. Democrats, independents, and even mainstream Republicans in North Carolina's 10th district all share one thing in common. They are not extremists. They want someone who will go to Congress and work across the aisle, someone who will go break the gridlock that now is in Washington. I stand for the seniors, for the working people, the teachers, the small business owners, the farmers, and the children and grandchildren in the 10th Congressional District. I stand for the Democrats, the independents, and the Republicans who look at my opponent's values and say, these are not my values. This country has faced the slowest economic recovery from the worst recession since the Great Depression. Our Congress has been hijacked by extremely radical members who refuse to come together to put the needs of the people first. We need to elect people to Congress who will be willing to work together to benefit all of their constituents and not just their own political party. I have a record of putting people first and bringing people together to solve problems. I did that in the classroom as a teacher. I did that as a member of a family who owned a small furniture business in Skyland. I brought people together as a commissioner and as a state representative. And what I ask you now is give me the opportunity to be your voice to bring people together in Congress for your good. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And I would like to thank Dr. Crawford again. I enjoyed church on Sunday. I saw some of the people that I saw in the two churches that I went to this Sunday, and it was wonderful to be able to share and to worship with you. So thank you so much.
Once again, let's give our two candidates a thanks and If you're wondering why they have to rush out because there are other engagements that they have to make, and plus Patsy has to get back to Asheville at some point in time. She comes all the way from there to here to be with us, so we're very thankful. The next candidate that we have that's coming forward will be that of Judge Tom Taylor. Judge Taylor, I'm going to task him, I'm going to give him a little bit more time than I normally would He's already a sitting judge, district judge in North Carolina. But the reason I'm going to give him a little bit more time because of the importance of the judgeships that are running this particular time. And let me express, you need to pay particular attention to the judges that are running, because when there's a problem in the state, whether it's the state legislature or something that is going on, many of them will be making the decisions when it goes to courts of appeals, district court level, and so on and so forth. So he's going to expound on that just a little bit, and plus tell about what he's doing in office now and what he plans to do if he is reelected. So put your hands together for Tom Taylor, District Court Judge.
My name is Tom Taylor. I've been your judge, local judge, for 8 years. And he's asked me to do a little explanation. Since this is a missionary Baptist church, I want to take a minute to try and make you missionaries. Not missionaries of the word, because I wouldn't already do that. But missionaries of the message. Simple. Judges matter. Let me just ask, is there anyone out there, now that you know Tom Taylor, that can name another one of our 7 district court judges here in this county? They're sitting right now. District court. Anybody?
Jingles.
Yes, Ralph Jingles, my chief judge. Very good. You get 100%, because that's the first time that's happened. And, you know, judges matter because they affect your lives every day. We're the judges where the rubber meets the road. So let me tell you how this is structured. District court judges are the county judges. Our jurisdiction ends at the county borders. Above us are the superior court judges. They travel from county to county. They come from the old circuit judges. District court judges have exclusive jurisdiction. We're the only judges that handle family matters. So, yes. All right. Oh, thank you. I didn't know there was a camera. All right. District court judges are the only judges who handle family matters. We have exclusive original jurisdiction of divorce, child custody, juvenile law, and now domestic violence court. So that you can see right there impacts our community. We also handle all misdemeanor criminal offenses and misdemeanor traffic offenses, including driving under the influence. So those are important things. Above us are the Superior Court judges. Currently, you may know Jesse Caldwell. I think you've all probably heard of him or met him. And Judge Sumner, who's just been appointed to that position. The Superior Court judges handle felonies, and they travel from county to county. Now, we all do our best to follow the law, but you know, sometimes laws are subject to interpretation. When my interpretation is something the lawyers don't agree with, they can appeal me. The next level up is the Court of Appeals. Now, the Court of Appeals can then be appealed to the Supreme Court of the state and then to the Supreme Court of the United States. I do this because I know you probably all know this, but it gets confusing where we are in the system. So those judges that are running for Court of Appeals are important to you. You need to educate yourself about that. I love my job. My job allows me to affect the community where I'm raising my kids in a positive way. I have a special interest in children and family law. I did as an assistant district attorney. I handled sex offense cases. As a judge, I do termination of parental rights cases. When a parent has not been able to do what's necessary to be able to raise their child, I consider whether their rights should be terminated and that child have the opportunity to be placed for adoption. I find that to be one of the most significant and important responsibilities I've ever faced in my life. And I volunteered for that position because I always feel if you're given a responsibility, you should try and do the highest level of that job. When you come into district court, it looks a little chaotic because we have a lot of people milling around and doing stuff. Our burden has increased because more laws are being passed. while we don't have more DAs, we don't have more judges, we'll probably have more lawyers. We're asked to do more with less every year. So I ask for your patience. I want to tell you as a member of the community that I'm aware that when you come to court, you don't want your time wasted. So I try to do the best I can, but I balance it with wanting people to be heard. You have a right, when you come into my courtroom, to have your side of the case heard. I actually write on the top of my pad, this is going to make my campaign manager laugh because he hears me say this all the time, but it's true. I write at the top of my pad, listen, because I think that's the most important thing a judge can do. I have to leave myself at the door and listen to both sides before I decide things according to the law. Now I'll tell you, judges don't exist in a bubble. We matter to you. You should know about your judges. You want to know about me and my opponent before you decide to vote. Because we do bring our beliefs. I'm very strongly pro-life, and I will not apologize for it. But I will listen to the other side, and I understand what the other side says. I believe in appropriate punishment. Increasingly, it's frustrating to me as a judge, and this is true of all levels of our judges, that the legislature has restricted what I can do with regard to sentencing. I'm a big believer in creative sentencing. Putting people in jail, as I was talking to Representative Keever and some of the other speakers here tonight, in America, between the ages of 18 and 35, largely African American, we have more males incarcerated than any other civilized country. There has to be a better solution than putting people in jail. And I look for those solutions. Now, I will put people in jail if that's the only option. But we have options as a community, and I've seen them work. I worked hard with Black Bell to work on our deferred prosecution. And we've increased the number of deferred prosecutions. That's for someone who comes in, it's their first offense. Kid makes a stupid mistake. He can go out and do community service and not have a record. Not take up court time with this, something that he's honestly sorry for and he's willing to work off. That's a great program. I believe in probation. I believe in drug treatment. I believe that incarceration is proper in some cases, but as a last resort. I often say in court, everybody gets to be stupid once. And as as the pastor I know said, everybody wants justice. Everybody seeks justice. We all want justice until it's us, and we want mercy. And I remember that. I want mercy. I want the court to be a place that people aren't afraid to come. That when people come, they know that they're going to be heard. Now, I have to make the decisions. I've spent 8 years making the hard decisions. I'm not afraid to do that. That's not something that my opponent can say. I would say that she's a fine attorney. She's a Dallas City attorney, but she doesn't practice in the majority of the courts that I've practiced in. Before I was a judge, I operated in every area of the court. I've appeared and argued at every level, at the Superior Court, and I was a criminal defense attorney before I was an assistant district attorney. I played both sides of that. I know the court. I've gone up to the Court of Appeals, and I've gone to the Supreme Court. I've even actually participated in a brief to the Supreme Court of the United States. I thought that was important before I asked to be a judge, that I know what each person does in that courtroom and what the pressures on them are. But as I've been a judge, increasingly I find that people are frustrated with our courts, and that concerns me. Because if you don't believe you're getting justice, you're going to find some other way to cure what you think is the injustice. Anyway, that's a long way of saying that I take my job seriously. And I'm not hiding. I'm a registered Republican. I will tell you that. But this is a nonpartisan race. My opponent is a Republican also. And I leave my politics at the door when I take that bench. I follow the law as it is, not as I want it to be, or not as I'd like it to be. I do my best to follow the law as it is. But it gives me a lot of leeway, especially when it comes to punishment and supervising our youth. So let me talk about one other program just to brag on our courts. When Judge Jingles took over as chief judge, kids who were truant were treated in two ways. Both in juvenile court, the child was charged in juvenile court, and then in our district criminal court, the parents were charged. You bring the parents up and you yell at them, and you have the child on here and you're yelling at him. Judge Jingles refined this, so we have one truancy court now. On one Wednesday a month, we bring all the people together, all the stakeholders. We make sure the parents are there, We make sure the kids are there. We make sure that the supervising juvenile counselors are there. And we find out what the problem is. We're interested in the solution to the truancy, not in the punishment for truancy. And that has really affected the rate of truancy in our schools. And I just want to brag on that. I think that's been a great program. Easiest thing in the world for us to do would be to throw the parents in jail for 5 days and tell the kids he's got a juvenile record, and then we can get on with our lives. That, law lets us do that, but you have to look for solutions that benefit the community. And I take that seriously every day when I'm up here. Now, anybody have any questions about how our courts work, or what I do, or anything about the courts? I'll be glad to take it. No? Nothing? Okay. One other thing. Judges matter and the courts are public. Come and see what we do. I'm proud of how I run my court. If you want to know what your judges do, come down and watch us. There's no reason not to. It frustrates me that people see the courts as a place to fear rather than a place to seek justice. And I'm running so that our community will start to look at the courts as a place of justice that reflects our community values. Thank you very much.
All right, we are thankful for John taking the time to come out. Taylor, this is the first judge that we have had, and as we are here, if you have questions, feel free to go ahead and ask those questions, because like I said, at the end of the day, somebody is going to sit in these particular seats. And it's good for you to have met them and talked to them, and some couldn't make it for one reason or another, but we want to try to give everybody an opportunity. We see now that Dot Guthrie has come forth. She's running for Board of Education, and she's going to come with 3 to 5 minutes. And of course, if you have questions, feel free to go ahead and ask. Put your hands together for Dot Guthrie.
Good evening. Good evening. I am Dot Guthrie, and I am a candidate for the Gastonia Township on the Board of Education. I want you to know that I bring with me more than 36 years of experience in education. Currently, I am an active librarian at Clover School District, Carters Creek Elementary School. But let me tell you about my work here in Gaston County and why I believe that I'm the best candidate for the seat. I worked as a school librarian for many years at East Gaston High School, then at Lingerfeld High School. And during those years, I was elected school librarian 3 consecutive years because of the skills that I was able to apply in our libraries. Also, I was named Media and Technology Specialist for North Carolina School Librarians. And I was a Time Warner National Teacher of the Year, which afforded me the opportunity to travel to Washington and speak with our senators and to have them applaud education here in our state. I retired as a director for student support services with Gaston County Schools. In that position allowed me to supervise the school counselors, the school social workers, the school librarians, direct the homelessness program, the dropout prevention program, and manage the Teacher Resource Center, which meant that there were over 300 employees whom I was responsible for here in Gaston County. I do believe that I have the skills in order to serve on the Board of Education. I do believe that as we emerge ourselves into this new way of teaching our children, I want to quote the words from W.E.B. Du Bois, who said, "Children learn more from what you are than what you teach." I want to be that role model on a team of professionals for the children here in Gaston County. I want to be able to partner with the members on the board as well as with you, the community. I want to be able to bring the community to the schools and the schools into the community. From previous experience that I've had, as some of you already know, we have brought national authors and illustrators here to Gaston County in order to promote literacy here in our county. We want to be able to afford you with the information that you need as we work with these new standards in our schools. Gaston County is one of 47 states now using the Common Core standards, a set of standards describing what children ought to know, and we as a community need to be able to support those needs that the children may have within the school system. I want to also be able to advocate for our teachers. The question was raised a few minutes ago at another event. Should teachers receive pay? Should they receive extra pay? Performance pay. I strongly believe that we as a community ought to advocate for every teacher in our system. If we have teachers that are performing above standards, let's acknowledge them. But Gaston County, we ought to always recruit the very best of teachers here in Gaston County to serve our children. And we ought to always advocate. Our presence will be important. Our collaboration will be important. Our communication will be important. When we go to the board meetings, go to the county commission meetings, those things are important. We don't need to have we don't need to have teachers speaking up for salary increases. They are educating our children. We ought to use our voices to advocate for our educators. And that's what I want to be able to do as a member of the board. And I ask you, ma'am and sir, if you would, please look at my record. Please know that I am an advocate, and I do have a vision. And I want to be a strategic leader. And when I say a strategic leader, I am talking about teaching, applying, using more than one method. One shoe does not fit all. Communities are different, and we ought to recognize those differences. And that's what our Common Core standards are going to allow us to do. We can look at those standards and we can set goals, but we don't have to use the same strategies to make sure that the children get what they ought to be. We can teach, we can apply, and we can also reap the benefits. So I say to you, please consider voting for me on early voting or on November 6th. Thank you very much.
All right, we've had a few more that have been able to come on in. For those that are just getting in, we want to say welcome on tonight. Glad that you could make it. Our next candidate that is running for Board of Education will be that of Rayelle Barr. And we will now hear from her and entertain any questions that you may have for her. Come on, put your hands together as she comes through.
Good evening.
Y'all supposed to have some tough questions, but as the Lord leads you, go ahead and let him lead you. Is that all right? Okay, we're going to ask now that Judge Stroll will come forward with her comments, and she will have 3 to 5 minutes, and of course, questions that you will be able to ask her. Following her, we're going to ask that Jonathan Williams, OFA NC, will come forth with the presentation that he has. And following him, we're going to ask that Anna Young, the president of the NAACP Gaston County branch, will come forth with her presentation. You will come in those orders.
And good evening, and I should clarify, I'm an attorney here in Gastonia. I am running to be a district court judge here in Gaston County, and I first owe you an apology. I didn't know I was going to be speaking to you tonight, so I don't look much like a judge or an attorney tonight, but if you'll just kind of forgive me for that. Like I said, I'm an attorney here in Gastonia. I moved to Gastonia. My name is Penny Thrower. I moved here in 2000 and joined the district attorney's office as a domestic violence prosecutor. Did that for around 3 years and then opened my own practice, originally in Dallas, and now I'm in Gastonia. So I've been practicing here in Gaston County for about 12 years, primarily in district court, the court that I'm running to serve you in. And district court, you might know, you might not know, district court really handles the majority and the bulk of the business at the courthouse. Traffic court, misdemeanor court, family court, just kind of the day-to-day business of the courthouse. And that's how I want to serve you as citizens of Gaston County. I love practicing law. I love being immersed in this community, and I really see running for judge as kind of a step up in my service to increase that to you as citizens. So I'll tell you 3 reasons why I think I'm qualified to do this job, and then 3 areas of experience that I think are pertinent to this job. First of all, I have experience, I just mentioned, 12 years of practicing here in Gaston County in district court. I think I have the integrity to do this job. If you will talk to people who know me, they will tell you that I really strive to be a do the right thing every time type person, and I think that's really important in judges. And the third area that I think that I could serve the citizens well is that I'm dedicated and immersed in this community. From the time that I've moved here, I've tried to serve Gaston County through boards, through volunteering, through my church. My mama taught me when I was little that wherever you live, you have a responsibility to that place to make it a better place, and I've really tried to live that out. 3 areas where I think I have experience in my practice that would serve are, first of all, and I mentioned before, in domestic violence. A very sad issue that we deal with here in Gaston County, and something that really affects not just the man or woman involved, but their families and their friends and extended family, and it's just a problem that I think my experience would lend well to dealing with that in district court. The second would be juvenile crime. I have handled juvenile crime from both prosecuting it and assisting juveniles that are charged with crimes. And I think any of you know that we're starting to have a gang problem here in Gaston County. We've got a problem with juvenile crime here in Gaston County, and so I think my experience would lend well there. The third thing is drug-related crimes. For a while, we had a drug court here in Gaston County. We lost the grant, but we used to have a drug court here in Gaston County, and I received special training to be a member of that drug court. So I've been trained in addiction and very familiar with representing also clients who unfortunately face addiction. So drug crimes it's a sad thing because, once again, like domestic violence, it has fingers that just reaches out into so many different areas of the community, and I really think in Gaston County we need to try to get a handle on that. So that's my spiel. I appreciate you listening and being able to come here tonight. I need to thank Danielle Barber for actually letting me know that I should come here tonight, and I would ask for your support and your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
My name is Jonathan Williams. I am the field organizer here in Gastonia for Organizing for America, North Carolina, President Obama's re-election team here in Gastonia. But tonight, I don't really want to talk to you from a political standpoint. I want to talk to you as the Gastonia native. I am Born and raised here, went to Lowell Elementary, Holbrook Middle School, North Gaston High School, Wildcats. And I have lived here my whole life. I am currently a student at UNC Charlotte. Kind of taking a semester off to work with the campaign. And the reason I did that is because I saw opportunity here in Gastonia. I saw that my hometown was in a position to make a change for the better. And I came in as a volunteered for months, became an intern from there, and then my regional field director was like, I want you to work for me. And I said, that's great because I want to work for my county. I want to make sure I do everything I can to help Gastonia. And I know there's more people out here who feel the same way. But the thing about it is, although I have a microphone right now, my voice is only so loud. I can only talk to so many people on the phone. I can only knock on so many doors. So the big thing I'm here is to inform other members of my Gaston County community of what we can do to make a change here. The first thing is early voting. I'm pretty sure you've heard on the radio or you've had one of my volunteers knock on your door, maybe I gave you a phone call, but early voting comes up this Thursday. And all of these candidates I know would appreciate it if you came out early and put your vote in for the president and your local candidates that you feel will represent you the best. So that'll be from October the 18th, November 6th. Mark it down everywhere, put it in your phone, and we will be around to remind you if you happen to forget. But the other thing I want to talk about, which is probably the most important thing for me and what I feel is for this county, is getting people out to help. Like I said, my voice is only so loud. Your voice is only so loud. But if we can come together and organize, go to our neighborhoods, our communities, talk to our family and friends, we can reach everyone and make a change. This election is going to be a close one. Just to break the numbers down in the simplest form possible, the presidential election in North Carolina will probably come down to 2 votes per precinct. And I know everybody in here knows at least 2 people. The difference is there are more registered Democrats than Republicans in the state of North Carolina. So it's a battle we can't win, but we need to unite together and go out and make sure everybody votes. Now, as the field organizer for Gastonia, I offer the opportunity to do that. Right now, we are in need of volunteers to come out and phone bank with us and knock on doors. I'm positive I've been in everybody's community out here at least 3 times, walking around, knocking on doors. I've actually walked around this church about 3 or 4 times in the neighborhood, knocking on doors, making sure people come out to vote. In the back, actually, we have sign-up sheets and papers to describe all the things that we do as an organization. I will be here after the program if you'd like to speak to me. But the most important thing that we can do to get the president reelected is to come together and make sure everybody goes out and votes early. And not just vote for the president, but vote for the president, then turn around and vote your local candidate's ticket, and then turn your ballot to the backside and make sure you vote for your judges as well and your nonpartisan. Keep it moving. And we actually had a big problem in the 2008 election with new voters filling out their ballot, vote for the president, and turning it in, not vote for anybody else. That's not going to work. We got to vote for everybody, including our local candidates and our nonpartisan races on the back. So, like I said, my name is Jonathan Williams, and that's the information I came to bring for y'all today.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to give God thanks for allowing all of us to be here tonight. I didn't expect to talk, but I will share a few words with you. When you know Minister Crawford, you just better be prepared. I want to thank the Progressive Coalition for doing this for the 2nd time. Reverend Jackson for allowing us to be in the host church for us to do this. We're blessed. I am Anna Young. I am the NAACP president and have been that for 2 years. It's been a journey to get to this point, but I am very proud to be at this point. The NAACP is a nonpartisan organization. Our focus is civil rights, regardless of who. We're not just a black organization or a Democratic organization. We're an organization for the community as a whole. I'm blessed to be in this position. For the last 2 years here in Gaston County, we have visited the court system, school system, some of our businesses that we've had complaints. And by God's grace, we came out on top. We just completed our 69th anniversary for the state convention last weekend. Voting rights is still an issue. Civil rights, those are still issues. I'm here tonight and would like to invite you to come to some of our meetings and hear some of our month-to-month discussions. If you have an issue, please feel free to come to Unity Church on the 4th Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. If you have not joined, please feel free to come and join us. Membership is $30 once a year. We welcome you just to come in and be spectators. We've grown quite considerably in the last 4 years, and hopefully we'll see more growth. We've worked very hard with both sides of the coin as far as political candidates, Republicans as well as Democrats. What some of the candidates have said tonight, I embrace, and it's delightful, especially Judge Teller. Not singling him out, but I was impressed. I'm impressed because when I have to take a client to court, for some of the things that he talked about tonight, they are real in the real world for you and me when it's our time to go into mediation. We need to know where people stand, how they're going to receive us, and how we are to approach those situations. I started out in this arena as city council. First black female city council in Gaston County, Mecklenburg. I stood up on that board for 2 years, and I realized one thing: where I was the wrong place. We have so many problems in this county because sometimes we just don't understand how powerful we really are. And the power is in the vote. The power is understanding how our government works and getting people that look like me, look like Mr. Taylor. I'm sorry to pick on you, but that's the only thing that I can pull right now. Okay, but we need to become proactive in our community and know the people that stand for human rights and human justice. Wow, people came to meetings. They didn't understand what those meetings were about. They didn't understand what zoning was about. Half of them at that point was not even in the city limits. Now we're in the city limits. We have voting power. We've come a long ways, but we have a long ways to go. Those were the beginning steps. So I encourage you tonight to become a part of our community. Make your vote stand for who you are. You're always welcome to come to our meeting once a month, the fourth Thursday of every month, to hear some of the concerns that we talk about on a monthly and daily basis. We have great relationships with the school system. Hopefully we have a good relationship with the court system. I have stood as a mediator for you and the courts. That's my position. If I can mediate, that's what we do. And in most cases, we can mediate. It's just a matter of coming to a common understanding and a clear understanding about issues that some of us have that's not as bad as we think they are. We're just going to the right resources. And we are a very resourceful people, and we can rely on each other. So we can, I would like to encourage you too, before I start talking too much. We have door knockers on the back tables. We have your voting right, your voting power cards, so that you can see that. We have cards that will allow you to see who's on the Democratic ticket. Republican cards are back there, and you can see those cards, and some independents. Please take the time to take some of this information so that you can be well educated when you go in that booth. Thank you very much.
For the judge to determine whether someone needs representation or not. And I will tell you, and I'm sure I actually would say that Ms. Thrower shares this because I know that she represents a lot of people as an appointed attorney. I believe everyone needs a lawyer, period. Our public defenders do very well. I find in first appearance a lot, where people have been put in jail, that they don't understand what's going on. I mean, I imagine if you or I were in the same situation and looking through a TV screen at a judge, we'd be kind of intimidated. So I try and take the time to explain to them that, because I get a lot of people who put that they're waiving an attorney. They have no idea what that means. So what I try and do is make sure that the people do get represented. Now, it is a difficult thing in America. In civil cases, and again, in domestic violence, you're not entitled to a court-appointed attorney, which I find makes the process a lot more difficult. I just don't have the power to give those people attorneys. But in the criminal arena, with very few exceptions, if I can give you an attorney, I will give you an attorney and make sure that that attorney shows up and does his job. Our public defender's office here does a really good job, though. I know that popularly people think that getting a public defender is not a good thing, but they know our court system. They know our judges, they know the clerks, they know a lot more about the process than maybe just an attorney who doesn't appear in that court does. So when you get a public defender, you've got someone who knows their job, especially in the juvenile law, and especially in our drug courts. Does that answer your question, sir? Is that... Yeah, that's as I said, it's frustrating to me as a judge. They've taken away our power to craft judgments other than incarceration. You have to understand, a lot of times I don't have a choice. We are now on a system that's a grid. If you've been convicted 3 times at a certain level, I have to start out by giving you active jail time. In DWIs especially, if you're convicted more than once, you're going to do some active time. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up to smarter minds than mine that are in the legislature. But I would encourage you, if you are believing that people should get second chances, to make sure your legislators agree with you about that. Because we are increasingly, judges have had their power to do other than put in jail taken away from them, whether you have a lawyer or not. And I can tell you personally, as a judge, that I would prefer the ability to reflect my community's values and craft something other than putting people in jail. But a lot of times, I don't have a choice. And I know that sounds like a weaselly kind of thing, but it's the truth. It just is. We started to criminalize things that we never criminalized before. And that's a bad thing. It is. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Through your laws. Now, there are good reasons to have a sentencing. Don't get me wrong. It gives defendants much more definiteness about what their sentence is going to be. It used to be, and I've been practicing for 30 years, it used to be you rolled the dice, you went up in front of the judge. If it was a hanging judge, he could throw the book at you. Which, as I said, sounds like a good thing until it's you. But what they do is if there's some structure to the sentencing, and it's called structured sentencing, the district attorneys can tell the defense attorney, this is what you're facing. They can inform the defendant. So in terms of the process, it helps the courts move faster. Now, whether it's good for people, it's something for you all to take to your legislators. That's who has to change this. We have to stop. You know what the base of this is? We're afraid of each other. We're a community. We're neighbors. And instead of trying to help our neighbors, we're afraid, and we're putting them away. And that's the first thing that happens now. We're putting people in jail. That's just I follow the law. I will put people in jail when I have to. I'm not going to apologize for it because I don't make the laws. I'm sworn to follow. But it's your all responsibility to tell your representatives, find some alternatives. We can't keep putting our youth in jail. Let me say one other thing, and this is my personal observation. Punishment is only effective when it's the final answer. If putting in jail is the first thing, it loses its sting. It used to be you go to jail, you had a little shame attached to that. Now, more people have been in jail than haven't. so the punishment kind of gets lost there, if that makes sense to you. But does that answer your question, sir? All right. Anything else? And as I said, I'm sure Ms. Throw agrees with me, to vote for a judge, you have to vote for a judge. You can't vote a straight ticket, and thank you for bringing that up. You have to go down the ballot and find the judge you're going to vote for and fill it out. I encourage you to get the information and educate yourself on the judges. I will tell you that there are distinct differences in all the judges' races. As I said, you want to educate yourself, talk to people you know, come down to the courthouse, talk to lawyers, talk to the police officers, talk to people who are involved in the court system. All right? Thank you.
All right, for the sake of time tonight, we are in for a treat. We're going to do with 3 more presenters. We're going to have Altrice Price Bryant. She represents North Carolina Democratic Party Regional Field Director. That's what she does. She's going to come up for about 2 minutes, and she's going to present. And on tomorrow night, our other presenters, we're going to ask that you would come back on tomorrow night, because I want to save the last few minutes. I want to be mindful of our time. We want to be out by 9, but we want to have time to mingle and to talk to some that are here tonight. So what I want to do is I want to have Craig Collins come forth. He is representing the Republican Party for Gaston County. And I want to give him 5 to 10 minutes to explain to us the importance of the Republican Party and the things that he believes are important about why we should vote for which one of the candidates in the Republican Party. And then we want to give Robert Kellogg, who represents the Democratic Party for Gaston County. He's over that party for our county, and he's going to come and do the same thing. And then if there's just a few more questions after that, we'll go ahead and entertain those, and then we'll close out with much prayer. Prayer is needed because we got an important election. Now, I just want to say on tomorrow night, we're going to deal with some information that you will need about, we're going to deal with the latest information about voter ID that may come up between the two. And we're going to deal with some strategies about getting. One thing we have to make sure is not only that we get people registered to vote, but we get people to the polls. Somebody say amen. Amen. A lot of people are sitting at home with a voter registration card in their pocket and not going out to vote. And that doesn't do any good for anybody. So we need you to go ahead and make sure that you vote. And we're going to talk about some of those things. We're going to have some training on tomorrow night. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to go a little bit deeper. And we ask, I believe there are some flyers on the back table, Brother Dean? Yes, sir. Okay, so there'll be some flyers back there, and you'll be able to get the information that'll be coming up for Wednesday and Thursday for our Fall Training Institute portion of what we're doing this week. Also, you'll see the ushers that are in the back. When you go out, you can leave a nice little offering, because as you know, they have lights on, and they have a nice, beautiful building. We thank St. John for opening the doors, and Pastor Jackson, that was him that asked that question just a moment ago, for opening their doors and allowing us to come in. But we want to be good stewards, and we want to give them something for their work and effort to make this facility available to us. So we pray that you will give as the Lord leads you, and that you will give a good little offering. Is that all right? All right. So without further ado, we're going to ask once again Altrice Bryant, Altrice Price Bryant to come forth. And when she finishes, we're going to ask that Craig Collins will come forth, and then we're going to ask that Robert Kellogg will come forth.
Thank you, Reverend Crawford. I will be very brief. Again, my name is Altrice Price Bryant. You all may have already received phone calls from myself or from volunteers such as yourself in Gaston County. My job as the regional field director for the North Carolina Democratic Party is to get people to the polls to vote. Stop. If you have not received a phone call from myself or one of my volunteers, check your messages, wait for the phone to ring. We're going to call you, we're going to say, have you gotten out to vote? Great. Did you take a friend? We need people to help us make those phone calls because it is important that we get everyone out to vote. I am a staunch Democrat, but I believe that every person in Gaston County needs to have their vote counted. And my job as the regional director here in Gaston County, Mecklenburg County, and Union County, so I need a lot of help, is to get everyone out to vote. So I don't have information back there on the table, but I will be around after it's over. If you believe that it is important that every person gets out to vote, then please see me and I can get you hooked up to do so. Thank you for your time.
First, I'd like to thank you guys for having me out tonight. Few issues to check with first. I always like to know who I'm talking with. How many in the room are Democrats, registered Democrats? How many are registered Republican? And the unaffiliated? So the vast majority of the room are registered Democrat, and that's great. I'm happy to be here in a group that is prominently of any party, and any chance to get to talk about the message that I think is so important, and why I'm the chairman of the Republican Party here in Gaston County, and why I've dedicated so much of my time and energy since I was a little kid to this cause. You may be surprised by some of the things that I'll bring up here in a little bit. First, again, I'm happy to be in a room that is prominently of any party. It doesn't bother me. I welcome that opportunity because Republicans win. You heard the message earlier. In North Carolina, we're winning when it is a majority of Democrats in the state. And I've contended that for years that the North Carolina Democrat Party, the members of that party, have looked at the national party and said, well, they aren't quite us. They don't understand our values down here in North Carolina. The Republican Party is closer to that. And so many Democrats in North Carolina have been willing to switch over, at least on occasional races, when they see fit. And I'm going to ask you to do that this year. We heard Ms. Keever talk about Congressman McHenry. We heard, not, I disagree with him on issues because I think he's wrong, because I think when he voted on Bill X or Bill Y or Bill Z, that it was wrong for North Carolina. No, we heard her say that he doesn't understand our values in North Carolina. He aligned himself with other people outside of Gaston County and outside of the 10th District. Folks, I'm here to tell you that is simply not the case. Patrick, born and raised here in Gastonia, understands our values. You may not always agree with his votes, and that's fair. But to say this because he doesn't care about us and he doesn't care about our values is simply wrong and unfair. Anybody who ever gets a chance to talk to him for more than 10 seconds would know that immediately. He cares. He wants to do what's right. Call him when you don't think he's doing it right. But don't say it's because he doesn't care about us. That's simply wrong and should be tolerated. Those are the kind of examples that we see when North Carolina Democrats say, I've had enough of my party. That's not the case. I know this guy. He does care, even when I disagree at times. How many people in this room have had a politician they agree with 100% of the time? I don't see a hand going up. But does that mean those people don't care about you just because you've disagreed with them at times? Of course not. There are good people. Robert Kellogg and I were talking before this started tonight. There are a lot of good people up in Congress from both parties who really want to do the best. They don't always get it. Find the ones that you like. Find the ones that you think do get it the most. But don't say that they're bad people and they don't care about it. Most of them are there for the right reasons. And so it does bother me a little bit when I hear someone stand up here and talk about Gaston County's congressman is not caring about Gaston County. Simply not true. Mr. McCoy talked about an issue that he believes we need to hold our politicians accountable to doing what they said they're going to do once they get elected. Who agrees with that? Who agrees that we need to hold our politicians accountable once they get up to Washington or Raleigh? Absolutely. I agree. Here we are at a church property, very grateful for that. My faith is a lot of the reason why I'm an active member of the Republican Party. I fully believe that we do have unalienable rights that don't come from Raleigh, they don't come from Washington, they do come from God. Our founding documents tell us that, and they're absolutely right. The Constitution is how we're going to make sure we protect those rights. But I absolutely think we need to hold our politicians accountable. Who in this room thought it was a good thing when Barack Obama said 4 years ago that we need to defend traditional marriage? The union that God created between one man and one woman. But during that term, he told his Justice Department, no, don't defend the faith, or don't defend the Defense of Marriage Act, the law, don't defend it anymore. Congress had to find a special prosecutor or special attorneys to go in and fight in the courts to defend the law that he campaigned and got elected saying he was going to defend, and then didn't. Here in Gaston County and in North Carolina, we had an election during the primary for a constitutional amendment that designates marriage, as it's written in the Bible, between one man and one woman. In North Carolina, 93 out of 100 counties voted to support that. In Gaston County, 46 out of 46 precincts voted to support that. Every precinct. I can tell you as a Republican chairman, we don't win every precinct. There are some that I don't think we've won, certainly my 15 years here. Every single precinct in Gaston County voted for it. The president was supposed to be here in North Carolina doing an event. And the last minute canceled. It was supposed to be out in Nashville. Canceled it on that day. The next day went on TV and told North Carolina and every precinct of Gaston County, you were wrong to vote the way I said I would be as president 4 years ago. Because I changed my mind. I now think that I was wrong, and the vote you guys took the day after you took it, telling you you were wrong. We have rights. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life being first because we can't have the others without. Without liberty, you can't have the pursuit of happiness. They're in order for a reason. We need to defend life. We need to defend the right to be born. These are issues that I think are vitally important, but where the leadership of the Democratic Party has let us down and has moved away from us. I had parents when I was a young child that were both Democrats. My father made a change early on, and my mother, quite a few years later, while I was in college, switched over to Republican. And she said, I can't be a member of a party that doesn't care about the weakest among us, the ones who have no voice whatsoever. We need to remember that. It's not just the people who can speak up and say, I need a voice. These social issues are vitally important. Now, during the Republican convention, we didn't hear a lot about social issues, that's true. We heard about jobs because right now people are hurting. The recovery hasn't worked. We heard policies about how we need to get people back to working, as opposed to the policies when we did hear about jobs during the Democrat convention, of we need just to keep doing what we've been doing because it's going to work. Yeah, it hasn't worked yet, but just give us 4 more years. The president promised us at the beginning of his first term, this is a 3-year proposition. I'll be voted out if I don't get this thing turned around. Do you guys feel that it's been turned around?
Yes.
Unfortunately, when I'm in court, and we've heard from 2 people on the candidate on the ballot for judges, I'm in court every day. And some of those court-appointed cases we've heard about, and child support contempt hearings, people who are being brought to court because they're not paying their bills. They're doing job search after job search. The jobs aren't out there. They're not developing. What we see are jobs that continue did not materialize. We see underemployment. When we look at the job numbers, we see people leaving the job force, saying, I'm not even looking anymore. We see people taking jobs at much lower wages than they were taking before. This recovery isn't working. Now I understand, when I saw the amount of hands come up to the Democrats, I understand this is not going to be something where I'm looking at a group that we're going to convince the vast majority to vote Republican. What I ask you to do, Dr. Crawford mentioned it, that we need a lot of prayer. I ask that you, collectively and privately, pray before you vote. Ask for guidance. I'm confident that how you voted after that. If you truly have a dialogue with God, your vote will be right for you. I truly believe that. It's a secret ballot. I ask that you take it that way. I ask that you take it very seriously and look at every candidate all the way down the ballot and ask yourself what your motivation of voting for each person is. If it's because they're in your party, that's the wrong reason. If it's because they're in your party because they have your values, that's probably a right reason. But you have to look. You have to say, as Mr. McCoy said, hold them accountable doing what they said they're going to do. Don't let them just switch. Don't let them tell you, we're going to give you health care. And I'm sure there's people in this room who wanted it, who support it. But it was sold a message saying this is not a tax. That's how it was sold to Congress and to the public, that it is not a tax. Then the president sent his judges or his lawyers up to the Supreme Court and argued, hey, if you want to find a constitutional, well, here's a good reason. It's a tax. We have taxing authority. The Supreme Court said, you know what, you're right. The majority said it is a tax, so therefore it's legal. He went on national TV the next day and said, the Supreme Court was wrong. They listened to my lawyers who said it was a tax. But they're wrong. My lawyers who followed my instructions were wrong. Because that's not the president that we've been given this image of by his handlers. And I'll finish with this. We saw the vice presidential debate a couple days ago. And Joe Biden said it correctly. He said, abortion is an important issue. The next president will have a couple of appointments on the Supreme Court. And do you want to support abortion, or do you not? He's made it clear that the judges they've appointed so far support abortion. He says that he doesn't have a litmus test, but he's confident the judges they appoint will be, quote, open-minded on issues that I contend directly go against the message that we hear when we're in these buildings on Sundays. So the message is contrary to what we hear on Sundays and what we read in our Bible. It's not the right message for our country. I would ask that you consider that. Thank you very much.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that you work in the court system,
Yes,
but do you think that it's fair to blame the president for all the unemployment when Gaston County was a textile county? Now, all of those things are gone from Gaston County. He didn't do that. It was gone before he got in the White House. Congress has not worked with him. They've not worked together, period. That's what we need. We don't need parties, because you're a Republican, you're going to pull this way. If you're a Democrat, I'm going to pull this way. We need to come together. That's what we need. I'm a Christian, and I believe in abortion. You know why? Because I've seen so many children that have been abused sexually, physically, and all that. And if a mother is going to glue her child to the walls because she can't potty train, she needs 99 years in prison.
Well, absolutely she does. And I've been a prosecutor and I agree. It's just kind of things about prosecutors. Because a mother might not be ready to parent that child, and the child might go through bad things, we're going to kill the child before it gets a chance. Because the child might not turn out the way we want, because they might not be parented the way we want. It's better to kill the child and guarantee it doesn't turn out good.
Someone's going to turn out.
We disagree. We disagree, and I understand, and I have friends who are on the opposite side of the issue, and it does not mean that I disagree with you as a person. It's that I disagree with you on the issue. Now, to respond to the other issue, you're right. It is unfortunate that Congress and the President have not been able to see eye to eye. We heard during the campaign that the President was going to have an open discussion on things. One, we weren't going to have any lobbyists in the administration. That's not the truth. 2, when we did the healthcare issue, it was going to be live on C-SPAN. C-SPAN showed up, they locked the door. 3, Republicans were going to be part of that discussion. They've been kicked out and not allowed. But we want to hear about how it's Republicans' fault because they are in control of Congress. Not the first 2 years of the administration. The first 2 years of the administration, the President's Party had a strong lock on both houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. So when we talk about them not getting along, they didn't get along before. The President hasn't had a budget passed yet because when the Republicans brought up a motion and said, you know what, you guys don't like our budget issues? We'll present the President's budget. Let's vote on that. It didn't get a single vote from either party. That's not the Republicans' fault. That's not the Democrats' fault. It's because the President's policies were so wrong that even his own party voted against it. Yes, ma'am?
I just want to say, I want to thank y'all so much for the way that this is being conducted, because this is what I want. I want questions. So you can get answers from the Republican Party, from the Democratic Party, from those the candidates that are here that are running. That's what it's all about. And you can get the, now whether you like the answers or don't like the answers, that's one thing. But at least you'll get the answers, and that's why I asked, and I appreciate you coming out, Craig, to represent the Republican Party, and Robert, I appreciate you coming out to represent the Democratic Party. So we're going to take a couple more questions, and then we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Robert so we'll be good stewards of our time. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I support the fact that you have a right as I support the fact that as a man and as a Republican, you have a right to your opinion as far as abortion is concerned. I think that the right should also remain with the woman that is involved in a particular situation to make her own decision about whether she wants to have an abortion or not. I don't think that it should be a legislative decision made by the Republicans or the Democrats. I think it should be left as it is in the hands of the person that is involved.
And that's a point I respect. Here's the bottom line that has to come down to. I can't stand what Joe Biden said in the debate that as a Catholic, I'm a Baptist, as a Catholic, I respect my church's teachings that life begins at conception, and I agree with it, and I believe it's a human being at conception, but I'm going to allow the law to allow someone to terminate that pregnancy and do what I believe is murder. Guys, there's a lot of things that people stood by over history and said, who am I to judge? Yeah, I wouldn't do that, but who am I to judge? Even though I think it's grossly immoral and wrong, who am I to say? When we read things back from the days of slavery, there are people from the North who said, why are we fighting this war? We don't have it. We don't want slaves, and we don't have them, then what do we care? Who are we to say, to force our judgment on other people? Because it was wrong. Just because you don't have one, just because I'm a man and therefore I wouldn't be in a position with pregnancy. That's absolutely true. I know women who have gone through terrible turmoil. It's been a horrible situation, no question. But I believe it's a human being. I believe God's word makes it very clear. That is a child. It's not a choice. It's a human being that needs to have that chance. And while it might be inconvenient at times, it might be unpleasant, it might not be the situation to change the plans of the parents, it's that child that I'm defending. And there will be a day that we all have to answer for our decisions that we made in life. There's no question. And I'm going to have a long list, just like I'm sure every one of you, of the things, of the decisions we've made. And on the abortion issue, there's going to be two groups of people having to justify, or one group is going to have to justify their answer. One group is going to be told they were wrong. One group is going to be told, either the group is going to be told, you were wrong, it wasn't a life, and yet you made people have children under the law. And the defense will be, I err on the side of life. I err on the side of what I believed your word was. That as a human being, I had to defend it. I had to defend him or her. There's another group that may be wrong. Let's face it, we all could be wrong on any of these issues. And the answer will be, yeah, I heard the argument that it was a life, but I want to defend a woman's right to choose it. So there's hundreds of thousands, millions of babies that were killed. And I supported the law of hell. That's not an argument that I'd want to have to make. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question regarding eugenics in the state of North Carolina. It was exposed in up until 1976, but we did explore that to the rest of North Carolina. And this is one of the largest states to participate in. And there was no public outrage over this eugenics. It was genocide. I just want to hear your point of view about that. In regards to the... Regarding the economic growth for Gaston County, the textile industry, the manufacturing, in 1989, manufacturing began to decline in 1989. Now, and that took place as a result of the advanced technology in terms of the manufacturing industry. So we had nobody to, in other words, we had nobody to fill those particular skills, didn't have those skills. And so manufacturing has been on the decline, since 1989. Basically a textile-centered area, and so there's very little growth. I think there's an impact study right now that shows there's a negative impact growth for Gaston County, and it's not due to this economic policy. That die had been cast since 1989, and I think the projection for that is about 75,000 jobs for the near future, and non-manufacturing jobs. So it's still considered to be slow growth. But that projectile that started in 1989, just what we...
Absolutely. And the eugenics issue, you're right, there wasn't a lot of outrage from any group particularly, and it wasn't all that vocal. And I'll be the first one to say when I don't know an answer. And it's not an area that I'm very well versed in. And so I apologize, that's not much of an answer that you were looking for, but we'll need to get you answers elsewhere on that one. I'm just not the right person to go into great depth. The economic issue, and the young lady earlier mentioned, I skipped over that part, so I apologize. We were a manufacturing community that seems to have lost that. I grew up in Pennsylvania. We were certainly a manufacturing community. And I watched Western Pennsylvania with the steel industry just collapse. And while I was there in the early 90s, we saw a resurgence. And what we really have seen is innovation and other manufacturing. We've seen exploration into more drilling, natural gas, more coal with the clean coal technologies. That's where we're seeing a lot of our manufacturing communities come back in areas where they're finding new innovative ways. Gaston County needs to keep looking to find there, so there are issues in North Carolina. There are more natural resources that we can go use. We need to encourage more business coming this way. And we have the highest corporate tax rate in the Southeast. And jobs are looking at coming to our side of the state line. We're 15 minutes south of here. And they can save hundreds of thousands of dollars every year in taxes. It's more appealing to go to the lower tax state. And so we really need to look at our corporate tax rate. We need to lower it. We need to get our companies use gas nonstop. All our companies need to have trucks and cars. And yet we have the highest gas tax in the region. We need to cut that. We need to make it cheaper to do business, and jobs will come when businesses can make money. Businesses don't get created when they can't make money. It's capitalism. And we need to get these corporate tax rates, gas taxes, and others more competitive. I'm not saying zero. I'd love it to be zero, especially when I'm filling up my gas tank at $5 a gallon, or $4 a gallon now, but we need to get these taxes lower. Yes, ma'am? No, is that it?
Yeah, you take the last one, we're going to be fair to Robert. We're going to go over just a little bit, so please indulge us on the time, and thank you so much, and we'll let this be the last one.
Now, in all fairness to Robert, I think he already has the room. I saw those hands go up. Yes, ma'am.
I'm standing to say that abortion and same-sex marriages can't be the only platform that the Republicans are pushing. If I can remember, when Bush was running for president, a lot of our church people fell for the abortion, and then they voted for Bush. Got him in there for 8 years. And to me, he was one of the major causes of the shape that we're in today. But you say that about him, he very seldom shows his face. All right, then we get President Barack Obama in there. He doesn't stand a chance. He wasn't even respected.
That's right.
And the day of his inauguration, I understand that they said they're going to make him a one-term president. He didn't have a chance. Not a chance.
Who didn't give him a chance?
Now he needs Republicans and anybody else.
The Republicans say
Yeah, that was the statement made on the day of his inauguration. The man wasn't given a chance. Then he had to fight with the Congress. Congress made up mostly of Republicans. And you're talking about working together? First of all, tell your Republican Congress people in Washington, D.C., if they really want to work together, work together. But they call him lies, making him look like he's a monkey, and all those different things in the newspaper. Then you're going to stand before us and tell us to vote Republican? And you vote for... I can't believe that you're standing there saying what you're saying without really thinking. Yes, we're church people. I am a Christian. But I know that there are more issues than abortion and same-sex marriages. And that's all you hear most of the time, same-sex marriages. If they vote for President Barack Obama again, he believes in same-sex marriages. He believes in abortion. Now, Bush came out, he didn't believe it. But what happened? Nothing. Nothing. Now we got a man who wants to do something about it, you're not giving him a chance. And he said when he first came in, that 4 years wouldn't be enough time to get us back to where we were when Clinton was there. To give him a chance. Give the man a chance. Give him a chance.
Several points that you made, and I understand there's some frustration there. You can't believe I'm saying here. Dr. Crawford invited me, and there's no room that I won't come talk to about the issues. None. And I would hope that you would welcome people who disagree with you, just like I was excited by the fact that I get to talk to a room full of people who registered differently than me and therefore saw politics a little differently. Differences are what make America great. What makes this community great? And Barbara Cullen and I had a great conversation before this. We have the few times we've gotten in the same room together. Dr. Crawford and I always do. There's quite a few of you that I've seen out there in different groups and have had an opportunity to dine with, or to pray with, or to worship together with. And it excites me even when we don't agree on everything. The Congress you talk about that has shut him down and didn't give him a chance, we've been less than 4 years in. The majority of the time, the first full 2 years, both chambers controlled by his party. You can't blame the Republicans for not following his agenda and not passing his budget. They have both the House and the Senate. You can blame the Republicans all you want for not voting, but the Democrats didn't vote for it either. They refused to. You can blame the Republicans for not getting in on the health care issue and writing a law, but the door was shut and locked. You can blame the Republicans for not having C-SPAN covered like the president promised, but we escorted them to the door and said, we want this coverage. And the president said, no, I lied. I'm not doing it. We begged and begged for that openness and for the interchange. It's been denied every step of the way. I understand that people have been told it's the Republicans, and you know what? There are some who have not given them a fair chance. You're right. There are some. Don't sit here and think, well, if they have a D next to them, they've given them a chance, or they give Bush a chance. A lot of the economic policies If you listen to what many of the Democrat analysts say about the economic issue that we came into, and they talk about really the housing collapse, which is really a lot of us heard much of this. President Bush wasn't the first one to have those policies. President Bush isn't the first one where everybody started borrowing every dollar out of their house. It really hit its growth during the president before that. It didn't start with him either. It's been several presidents, but it includes Clinton, includes Bush, and it included, until some of the problems started getting fixed, it included Obama. Now some of the solutions are hurting us even worse. But let's not make this a partisan issue where it's one party that caused these issues. And certainly let's not say it's the Republicans in Congress who have failed to pass the president's budget when it was presented in the House, and every Democrat voted against his budget. Let's not blame the Republicans for the issues of not cooperating. It takes two sides to cooperate. And you know what? There have been issues. There have been times when my party hasn't been as cooperative. But to sit there and say that President Obama has been very cooperative simply isn't the case. It isn't. The door's been closed. Ask Keith Schuler out in the western part of the state, out in Nashville, member of Congress, Democrat. His leadership hasn't opened the door for him either. He's leaving office this year. He was possibly not going to run before that as well, but redistricting made it where he was going to have a difficult time winning. I don't consider a lecture. I consider most of this to be discussion time since we're well into questions and answers. But we had limited time. And the reality is during a presidential campaign, and I'm sure Robert would not disagree with me on this, there's one race that people talk about, and the one race where we get to knock on the door nonstop asking for signs. Yeah, I get the Pat McCrory questions, I get the Patrick McHenry questions, but 95% of the calls, 95% of the emails are about the presidential race. That's the one that most people tend to really get excited about and want to focus on. That's the one that the non-candidates have focused on today. Candidates for their own race, yeah, they talked about their own. But, you know, and that'd be a completely another discussion. I know I'm getting the hook over here from Dr. Crawford and Lee. And I'd be happy to talk with anybody who wants to have an open discussion about looking at a race with an open mind, saying, I'm trying to decide how to vote. Not to attack Republicans nonstop, not to say your party's evil. And the reality is, I came here with an open heart and an open mind. And I know from looking at here, some people receive that. And unfortunately, I see some people have not received that. And that's a shame. And it really is. And I look forward to future discussions with those of you who want to have a discussion and want to have an open discussion. I think it's healthy. And I'll wrap up with this. We heard from people in the DA's office at one time. And I had the privilege of being there when both Judge Taylor came to the DA's office and when Penny Thrower came to the DA's office and when they both left. I stayed before and after. And one thing that was really exciting that I learned the first week of private practice of representing criminal defendants, and that's what I do, criminal traffic defense, is looking across my desk from a woman, a mother, who was crying, and her son was sitting in jail for the last 48 hours. And it hit me, after 9 years of prosecuting, that you don't really think about because you're paid to do a job. This young man may have done something horrible. He has a mother. It reminds us of the human nature. It reminds us that we all are connected. We all have similar walks of life. I rushed over here for my son's soccer game. Almost didn't make it because I had him up at the trainer with an injured knee. These are the pressures that we all go under. Family issues, politics aside, we're all on the same page when it comes to living here in this community. And as long as it's a pointing finger and saying them, we're not going to get anywhere. We do need to do, and myself included, point back at ourselves more often and say, what do I need to do? And that's why I'm here tonight, because I know there are parts of the community that we need to reach out to more. We need to have that discussion with. And I'm grateful for that opportunity, Dr. Crawford, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Let me go ahead and say this. I'll let you make a very brief statement, as Robert has been so patient, and we don't want everyone to go ahead and leave before he has an opportunity to go ahead and say what he wants to say. So, about 30 seconds, and then we'll go ahead and turn it over to him, and then we'll get ready for prayer and go on. All right? Thank you for that comment. And we're going to now receive Robert Kellogg over the Democratic Party.
Thank you very much, Reverend Crawford. I like to use the portable mic because I was actually a Bible school student several years ago. Used to be a youth pastor. Did a lot of work in missions and in the church before I went on to go into retail management and eventually have a passion for politics. I want to start off by saying to you all that my name is Robert Kellogg and I am the chairman of the Gaston County Democratic Party. But first, I'm a human being, and I think all of us here need to drop our labels because when it comes right down to it, what we are people. We're human beings and we're members of the human race. And when it comes down to it, all we're trying to do is get through this world and leave it in a little bit better shape than what we found it in. I'm proud to be a Democrat. Why? Because I believe that those principles are what the Democratic Party stands up for. If we want to talk a little bit about the president, I'd like to talk a little bit about Mitt Romney, his challenger this year. Mitt Romney had a statement a couple of weeks back signaling out 47% of Americans. He had a video that showed him at a private fundraiser where these big dogs and these powerful people gathered for a fundraiser. And don't get me wrong, that happens on both sides of the political spectrum. This was caught on videotape. And he began to give a speech. And he talked about the 47% of Americans that will never support him. And these were the people that are mooching off the government. These are people who are victims. These are people that are getting some kind of assistance from the government. Folks, I challenge each and every one of us here to look at our hearts and say, who among us has not ever received something from the government at one time or another? Who here has ever had Social Security? Who here has ever had some kind of Medicare? Who here, as a young mother, may have gotten whipped because her children deserve to have peanut butter, eggs, and milk in order to grow up to be healthy and well and well-adjusted children? How many folks here ever went to college and received a Pell Grant? That's not a handout, that's a hand-up. When you get a Pell Grant, you're investing in your future. And when you become whatever it is you're studying to become, you in return give back to society and you raise that tax base because your income level has risen. Folks, I'm tired of this trickle-down economic theory. I'm tired of the attacks on the poor and the working class trying to victimize us and tell us that we're mooching off the government. We're not moochers. We're not victims. We're Americans. And Americans stand up and they take notice, and when the going gets rough, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Folks, I am proud of my president. I am proud of President Barack Obama. Not just because the man has done extraordinary things in his first term, not just because he has gone against the odds, against a Congress that did not want to work with him, not because he has had to rise above political and social ignorance, but because the man stands for something. The man has principles. The man has a dream and he has a vision for this nation. And just because there are a few or there are some in our country that don't understand that vision of collectively coming together as a nation, of all of us coming together and working forward for a better country, we begin to call names. We begin to demonize them. We begin to say he's not a Christian. We begin to say he's a Muslim. We begin to say that the man, Barack Obama, has something in his closet. There's issues. There's things going on that nobody knows about. As Joe Biden said, malarkey. Malarkey. Let's get back to basics. Let's stop talking about gay marriage. Let's stop talking about abortion, because those are issues between us and our God. Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about education. Let's talk about the bread and butter issues that affect us right here in Gaston County. Folks, we have an all-Republican Gaston County Commission. It has been all-Republican for 10 plus years. You want to talk about poverty? You want to talk about what's keeping the people down here in Gaston County? Let's look at who's running the county. It's not the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has not been in charge for years. So if you want to talk about accountability and responsibility, let's start right here at home. Let's start right here on the local level. Folks, I didn't plan to preach. I didn't plan to give a sermon. But sometimes you need a little bit of fire in your belly to get you going. Who out there knows what it's like to struggle? Who out there knows what it's like to be dirt poor and have somebody cut out styrofoam to put in the bottom of your shoes so that your feet won't fall out the bottom of your soles? Ma'am, I'm right there with you. I grew up dirt poor. I ate pancakes one week, 7 nights a week. Why? Because pancake mix is cheap. And when your parents are disabled, when they get food stamps and there's a family of 6 trying to survive, your parents do all they can to put food on the table. Sometimes that's pancakes. Folks, Mitt Romney has no idea what it's like to be poor. He has no idea what it's like to struggle and to try to make ends meet. He has no idea what it's like to try to work 2 or 3 jobs to try to get yourself through college so that you can better yourself. And then to go ahead and tell us that 47% should be tossed aside and discarded, that's ridiculous. That's un-American. And folks, I'm going to stop right here before I get going any further. I need your support. The Democratic Party needs your support. We are not going to stand in Gaston County for the malarkey that is coming towards us. We have to stand up for something. We have to come together as a community. We have to bring down all those bridges, all those barriers, and we have to stand up for what's right. My Bible tells me that if we don't feed the hungry, if we don't reach out to the poor, if we don't visit those who are in prison, when we go to heaven, he's going to, our Lord and Savior is going to say to us, depart from me. I don't know you. I don't know you. We can talk about social politics all we want. We can talk about the Bible. We can try to divide people and segregate them and slice and dice people. But when it comes down to it, we're all human beings. We're all members of the human race. Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, black, white, male, female, we're all people. Help me this year. Help me this election season to re-elect President Barack Obama. To put into office Patsy Keever, who's running for the United States Congress. Walter Dalton, who's running for governor. And let me tell you, Pat McCrory stood up and said he agreed with what Mitt Romney said about the 47%. So if you want a governor that believes in you, you better vote for Walter Dalton. Ross Beulah for North Carolina Senate, 44. Jamar McCoy and Jody Reese for North Carolina House, 110 and 109. Tony Duran and Jim Long for Gaston County Commission. Folks, these are Democrats. These are good, hardworking people that understand what it's like to struggle, who are just like you and I, who want a better life for ourselves and our children and a better future. And we're not going to tell you that because you're not part of the percent that we're part of, that we're not going to listen to you. Vote Democrat, and I appreciate you very much tonight. Thank you. Is there any questions? I can, that's why we're here. Actually, let me mention, early vote does start on the 18th, this Thursday. There are several early vote sites. Gaston County Board of Elections, the Gaston County Citizens Resource Center in Dallas, the Gaston County Library on Garrison Boulevard, and the Mount Holly Citizen Center in Mount Holly. These places are open from Thursday the 18th, and most of them are going all the way through on the 2nd. There's a couple of them, or actually there's one that's open on the 3rd, which is a Saturday, and that is the Board of Elections site on Franklin Boulevard. Some of these places have a little bit different times on them and days that they're open. So if you grab one of these Democratic slates or other information back there, it'll have your early polling sites. If you know somebody that did not register by some chance, they can do it all in one stop at early vote. They can go in there with their ID, with some kind of proof of residency. They can tell them that they need to register, and you can register and vote all at once. Anna, what was your question? Was that how to do the ballot? Oh, go ahead. Thank you.
But when you vote, if you vote on a straight ticket, you still must vote for the president. On the back of the ballot, you'll see the judges, county commissioners. Make sure you look at that. When I said these blue cards are in the back, those blue cards are in the back, and it describes the candidates that's running under the Democratic Party. I waited a long time to get fired up, but I'm fired up right now. And I got something I want to say. When I made a statement up there on that podium saying that I didn't think you understood when I came off the city council because of voting, I didn't say you were dumb or ignorant. What I was saying is that my education and what I need to do for my people was to come out here and let you know what this system is all about. I want to say this to the candidates, and I mean it from my heart. When you talk to us with dignity. Do not talk down to us like we don't understand what Gaston County has been about for the past 30 years. I came here in 1979, so I'm going to tell a story right now. I came here in 1979, fully educated, ready to qualify, ready to do whatever needed to be done to raise my family and take care of my sick dad. There was not a job in Gaston County for me to find. And I'm saying, why? I go to the school department, the Board of Education, work for the administrative center. They tell me that my black child would not graduate 6th grade. I'm thinking, where? We're in church, God forgive me. Where am I? That somebody's going to stand and tell me, a school administrator is going to tell me that my black child will not graduate 6th grade. What kind of prediction is that in this county? Where are we living? That's what got my fire started. I couldn't figure out what. I'm a nurse. I gave up a profession to work in the school system to figure out what is this attitude about. What is the difference between my child and somebody else's child? And we're not talking about a white child, because they were talking about across the board. That was the expectation of this county, across the board. Our children were leaving school back then at 16, going to look for a job, not a career. Our manufacturing corporations around here have a group of people from the mountains to China. When the guy's gone now, when he talked about the mill and technology transfer, they had to bring those people in to work on those machines. What happened to the people in our county? They went unemployed. The disadvantaged were further disadvantaged. After 6 months to a year on the unemployment roll, they were left there. So I ask you, when you come and talk to our people, may they be black, white, Hispanic, green, or purple, understand your audience, because we got a history, and we do know the truth. Please do that for us. Thank you.
Well, as you can see, this has definitely been a lively discussion on tonight. And this is healthy because in some countries, and I've been 3/4 of the way around the world, some countries you could not do this in. Trust me. you would be shot, you would be killed, there would be blood on the floor by now. So I'm thankful to be in America. I know when I was a little boy, I used to, amen. When I was a little boy, I used to see the big movie stars get off the plane and get down on the tarmac and kiss the ground. Glad to be back on American soil. I remember the first time I left this country and got back, I got down on the tarmac and I kissed the ground. I was glad to get back here because you can't do this everywhere. Trust me, I served in the Army for 7 years, served civil service for 7 years and ran my own business in a foreign country for 10 years. And I know that there are some serious challenges out there. But I do want to encourage you that this is healthy. This is healthy. You need to hear what the Republicans got to say. You need to hear what the Democrats got to say so that you can go to the polls and make an intelligent decision on who you're going to vote for that's going to go ahead and help you get through what you need to get through for the next 4 years and in some cases the next 6 years. So I encourage you to come out tomorrow night because we're going to strategize. We got some presenters that we didn't get a chance to hear from. We have plenty of literature back there on the table. And I want you to do some homework tonight, and I'm going to touch on it tomorrow. I want you to Google the Second Bill of Rights. I want you to Google the Second Bill of Rights. The Second Bill of Rights. You can find it under Roosevelt. And it's a very interesting article of what he was looking at back in 1944, a little bit about almost 70 years ago. The Second Bill of Rights. So do some homework on that. And I believe those are some issues that no matter who gets in office, we need to ensure that they look at those Bill of Rights. All right. If all hearts and minds are clear, is Reverend Jackson, our host pastor, if you will come forth and if you would lead us in prayer. And I'm going to do this a little different. Come on, everybody stand and come together. Because at the end of the day, like I said, somebody going to be in these various positions. And we got to learn to come together and we got to deal with whatever the issues are. We're just going to make a circle. We got to deal with whatever the issues are. And then at the end of the day, the election will come. And after the election, we got to work together. Amen? So we need to learn to hold hands down. And then we need to learn to hold hands after the election so that we can work together. Is that all right? All right. I love y'all. Amen. Dr. Jackson, thank you so much once again for opening your doors. Thank your staff. And we also ask that once you go out, that don't forget to leave a little something in the pan back there so we can help pay this light bill. Is that all right? All right.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you that you're welcome here tonight. And I hope that you get something from what you heard from both sides of the plate. And let us go to God in prayer for our dismissal. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. God, we thank you for this political forum tonight. God, thank you for being in the midst. Thank you, God, for the different adversity that we heard tonight, that we can make a sound decision at the poll. Bless all of these candidates. Bless the Democrats and bless the Republicans as well. God, because we all are your children. And Father, I pray you bless this association. Keep them in the palm of your hand. And now, Lord, I pray you would dismiss us from this gathering, but never from thy presence. In Jesus' perfect and pure name we pray. Amen. Now, what time tomorrow night? Doors are open at 6.